Okay, good afternoon. We have another writer today. I don't know how that happened. The first guest wrote Single Mom in the City. And yours is a little bit different. It's Dee Dee's Bridge, the beginning, right?
That's correct.
We have a producer here. Her name is Dee Dee.
Okay.
So when I saw Dee Dee, I thought, is she the producer at Channel 29? But you have the same, is that your name?
My mother named me Dee Dee.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so we do have a producer, and that's her name. So she'll be happy to hear that her name is on the book, even though you don't talk about her, right? So,
Right.
so your book is actually completed. As for the previous person, she's still writing it.
Okay.
So do you want to show the cover of it in front of you?
Sure.
Yeah, this is it. Okay, so it's a green pasture kind of thing. Oh yeah, yeah. I
It's a
remember
bridge.
the picture on LinkedIn. Yeah, so that's a beautiful cover.
Thank you.
So it's all written.
Actually, I'm working on book 2, Dee Dee's Bridge to Transformation,
Oh, okay. So this one was written 2017.
published July 2017. That's right.
Okay, so now you're gonna do one more. That's gonna be called what?
It's actually going to be a series.
Okay.
So, Dee Dee's Bridge, the beginning, is a memoir based on my real life story, my story.
Oh.
Dee Dee's Bridge is about a young girl who suffered through a lot of abuse committed by her mom, her mother,
Oh.
and various people in their lives. So it's about Dee Dee's struggle. It sheds a light on the emotional trauma, the development of emotional and
And how you survived.
mental, disorders, how they develop and how she survives.
Oh.
So Dee Dee's Bridge to the Beginning is that story, and
Okay.
it's a true story. Dee Dee's Bridge to Transformation is on a happier note. Dee Dee, the main character,
Is becoming a
becomes a superhero.
better.
So now she fights to save children who are in similar circumstances as she was.
Wow.
So she, along with 2 other characters, Detective O'Malley and Detective Jackson,
Yeah.
with the San Francisco's SVU unit. The 3 of them work together,
What's
and this is all
SVU?
fictional.
SVU mean?
Special Victims Unit.
Oh, there is such a
There,
company.
there is an arm, Special Victims Unit in each police organization throughout the United States.
Oh.
But in this instance, it's a fictional situation with the 2 SVU detectives. So Dee Dee, along with her 2 detective friends, go find situations. They look out, or they look for situations where they can go and find children and help children. And we have these big fictional organizations that have some truth to it, that promote trafficking and commit some of the most heinous abuses
they
against
actually
children.
exist?
They actually exist.
Oh.
They do. But I don't name any names. I don't.
No, but they actually do have some kind of nonprofit somewhere, and they do the work.
They do.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but yours is different, right? Yours is not an organization yet, or is it?
Well, Dee Dee's Bridge to Transformation, it's a fictional book.
Okay.
It's fictional.
Yeah.
So Dee Dee, the main character, has morphed over from the nonfiction to owning and operating a private detective agency.
Okay.
And with the private detective agency, along with Sergeant O'Malley and Detective Jackson, they just crusade. They crusade for children.
Oh. Wow. So, so you said it's a little bit of a biography?
Dee Dee's Bridge, the Beginning, is a memoir. It's an autobiography.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was it hard for you to write?
It took quite a bit of time to
No, I
write Dee
mean
Dee's Bridge, the Beginning.
to put out to the public something personal. Was it hard?
It was. It was.
Sometimes it takes time before you have the courage to do that, no?
Yes. you don't really hear about mothers who abuse their children, mothers who sexually abuse their children. You don't hear about that, but
Oh,
it happens. And for me, taking that topic out of the shadows and putting it in the forefront,
oh.
actually, my goal was to connect to someone else who may have suffered the same thing. And
Wasn't
have
that
gone,
Oprah? She did it. She had it.
I don't know if Oprah,
Yes, she did.
by her mom?
No, by
Yeah, but
her uncle.
Yeah, oh yes, yes.
So it could be a further member of the family.
It typically is. It typically happens to children by someone they trust, a member of the family. Yes, it's more prevalent than anyone ever really wants to understand and know. It's something that people really don't want to talk about.
But there's nothing we can do about it because it's in their private home.
We can act, there is something we can do.
Okay, tell me.
We can actually change the culture and the conception, the preconception of this
Keep
is
an eye on your
taboo.
kids.
Well, no, that this is taboo. And if it's in the family, let's keep it in the family. Let's not talk about it because no one wants to know. We
Right.
can change that way of thinking. We could make it where, like the hashtag or the movement, Me Too,
Yeah.
actually made it okay for women to speak up
say
and
it.
say, this is happening to me. We
Oh.
could do the same thing for children
Oh, but they don't speak up.
because they're not empowered. They don't
Okay.
feel emboldened enough. They're in a situation to where they're scared. Someone has control over them. We need to make it okay socially for those children to say, you know what, no, stop. I don't want this to happen to me. You need to
Okay.
leave me. And that will actually deter a lot of predators. A lot of predators will actually change their mind and, oh, you know, this person has a little
Do
power.
you think society is a little bit more educated because we bring out so many of these things in the open? Do you think people are watching TV and being aware of them? And because they are aware of them, it won't happen again? What do you think?
Honestly, I think this world will always be predators.
Oh.
Where there's opportunity, there'll always be predators. What we can do is to just
Talk about it more.
talk about it more, you know, have open discussions so children don't feel ashamed. They don't feel the guilt.
They're innocent.
They're very innocent, and it's not their fault, and they need to know that. They need to know that this is not my fault.
Right.
I didn't do anything wrong, and I can speak up. They need to know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So this is a big book, actually. You must have had a lot to say.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Oh my God, that's
Yeah.
a long book.
Mhm.
How long did it? Oh, let me see how many
I
pages.
think it's 160.
164. That's a long book. How long it took you to write it?
Because these are my experiences. These are things that happened to me.
It was just writing from your mind, from
Right.
your memory.
From my memory. But making it interesting enough to where people will
keep-
want to read it.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Is there any happy stuff in there?
Well, depends on what you think is happy.
I mean, is there a happy ending or some humor or some good anecdote that were happy?
There's actually instruction for people. There's actually instruction for parents and maybe those in the mental health fields
Okay.
to pick up and learn how to recognize signs children may exhibit. Children who are being abused
Will show
exhibit
signs?
exactly. And so Dee Dee's Bridge helps parents and those in mental health or the mental health field detect when something could be happening.
Oh, because you talked about it.
Exactly.
So your book can go to the psychologist library.
They could. It actually could.
Or in the library itself, you know, the
They
main
could.
library.
Mhm.
Or people who are in charge of children's services.
Correct.
Okay.
It would actually be, it is actually a goal of mine to have Dee Dee's Bridge, the beginning, be standard reading for those in the medical
Field?
Yes. for those in daycare, for those who are in charge of children, I think
There's so much abuse there.
they should read Dee Dee's Bridge at the beginning. Because if they do,
They won't do it, maybe.
well, those who are in charge of children can actually spot the signs.
Okay.
They can look at a child and say, wait a minute, maybe I need to ask more questions. Maybe I need to engage that child in some conversation.
And find out.
Yes,
Because
exactly.
the children are scared, they shut up, right?
Right, right.
They're afraid something will happen to them.
Right,
if they speak up
Or their parents, or, it just depends on,
on the situation.
right.
So only when you were an adult now you're speaking about it?
Yes.
So you took some time to say, hey, I better do something.
I didn't want to leave this world, this earth, or this realm without somebody knowing what happened to us, my sisters
Okay,
and
so
me.
it's your mission. It's your mission to let people know about it.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, that's good. That's good. This
Yes.
way you have you were born to make people aware.
The only good that could possibly come out of what happened to me and my sisters is that we can share what happened and maybe prevent it from happening to someone else, or empower a child who's actually in it to
Yeah.
say something and speak up.
And go to the teacher.
Yeah. So maybe what happened to us will prevent it from happening to someone else.
Of course.
That's the only good in a situation, the type of situation my sisters and we grew up in. It's the only good.
Yeah, but it probably happened in non-educated environment because people who are educated wouldn't do that. Do you think they would?
Yes. A predator.
It could be an attorney.
There's no social standards, economic,
Really?
educational. Yes, look at the priests.
Oh, that's true.
Catholic priests are, I'm not saying everyone is,
Yes, I
but
know.
there's a,
Like right now, there's a big case in what is it? In one of those states.
and actually, there are a couple in Rome, several in Rome.
There's
Actually.
about 10,000 in
Boston, I
in
believe.
New Jersey, one of those cities,
Mm-hmm.
and they found out thousands.
Yes,
And it's only when the first one spoke that the other did.
yes, empowering.
So
They
what
were
are they going to do?
empowered.
They're going to fire them all? Or charge them all, and then there's no more priests, right?
Well, I mean, I'm sure there are some good priests who actually preach, God's love and demonstrate God's love without having to
do those things
hurt
to kids.
children. Right. I'm sure there are some good ones out there.
One policy churches should pass is a child should never be alone with a priest in closed doors.
Yes.
Because there's so much abuses when they one-on-one in closed door and children don't tell anybody.
Right. Right.
And right now there's a big scandal where children are speaking up that a lot of abuse happened when they were interviewed by their priests and things like that, emotional abuse.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's a big case. They're going to change the policies and everything. I don't want to mention the name of the church, but
Right.
it is a big scandal right now as we speak. There's some people doing the hunger strike,
Mm-hmm.
and they're trying to stop this from continuing.
Mm-hmm.
So there was this week interview from a pastor who was fasting for 20 days, and then hundreds of thousands of people went to the street to bring awareness to the problem and stop the policies of being alone with the child.
So see, there are things that we can do.
Yeah,
To
you
prevent
can protest.
this.
You can
Yes.
protest it on the street. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The more we talk about it, the more conversation we have, you and I having a conversation about it, the more ideas that come to light, that could be applied.
How could that happen? It could be maybe in the education of the child,
Exactly.
in the books.
Maybe there should be some curriculum, some standard curriculum in school, starting from kindergarten.
I agree with that one.
The bad touch, the good touch, there are things we can do.
Yeah.
just by
It's
starting with a conversation.
just more education. Education's the key, I think.
It is. It is.
You might take a class in college that would be required to never abuse your children, kind of thing.
Right. So the first step is to take this topic out of the shadows.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the first step.
It's make people aware. Yeah. So this is you in the back. Yeah.
That's that's me, and then that's my grandson Jackson, my youngest grandson.
You have a grandson?
I have 2 children, and 2 grandsons.
Oh, how funny. Oh, wow. He looks so happy too.
They are happy. Another thing that comes about when
You can show
people,
the picture if you want.
well, another thing that comes about when children are abused, when people are abused as children, is there's a circle of violence.
Where in the family?
Right. There was one instance where I was in a group home called Florence Crittenton in San Francisco, and this group home was for unwed mothers at the time. This was the early 80s. And there was a social worker there.
Yeah.
She was a very young social worker. My son, Raimi, who's in the book as well, was about a year old. And coming from the horrific abuse that we did, she said to me directly and pointedly that because I was abused, I would probably abuse my son. And
You said no.
when she said that to me,
Oh,
that's
bad programmation.
I cried. I ran out the room.
Who is this uneducated woman?
She was a brand new social worker. But I bet you she learned from that experience.
Oh, did you mention it?
It's in the book. Yeah, it's in my book.
She shouldn't say that because
No.
that's programming you negatively.
Right. And so out of all that abuse, and because I was so afraid that I didn't want to hurt my children, it took me so many years just to hug my son, to hold him, because
You were afraid to do anything else.
exactly.
Oh.
So there are a lot of issues that I've had to overcome and work through
Yourself.
my entire life, right? And post-traumatic stress disorder is very real, especially when you've suffered through long-term
kind of thing?
abuse,
Oh.
right? So this went on for about 8 years in our family.
Oh, did you go see a psychiatrist?
Oh my goodness, yes. Yes.
You did.
And that's what gave me the idea to sort of pivot Dee Dee's Bridge, the beginning, in a way where mental health professionals could actually learn or discern from Dee Dee's Bridge, the beginning, from the victim's point of view. This situation right here, and I'm just saying an instance where a situation in the book, say I was the situation where I was getting ready to tell my grandmother what was happening to me.
Oh, you were about to tell her.
Right. And
How old were you?
I was about 11. I was
11.
11 years old.
Okay.
And I was getting ready to tell my grandmother what was happening. And I actually did.
And she stopped it?
My grandmother, because it was her daughter, my mother,
She didn't want to.
she didn't believe it. She didn't want to believe it. Maybe it was too painful for her. But it was at that moment where I started to develop a distrust for people in general and a hopelessness feeling. I mean, it was after that, everything was just hopeless.
Yeah,
If my
because
grandmother wouldn't believe me, then who would?
Yeah.
So
Plus, if someone so close to you does that, who
could you possibly trust?
Yeah.
So that developed a lot of mental health issues for me, emotional situations for me were
confusions, yes.
right. So working with psychiatrists, clinical psychiatrists, throughout my life over the years have given me a great deal of insight into the medical health, the healthcare, mental health care profession, to where there are some inadequacies. There are certain things that could be a program that could be put in place to help people who are suffering from long-term traumatic abuse. there are some changes that could be made in the mental healthcare profession, and Dee Dee's Bridge addresses some of those issues. Yes, definitely.
Must be a terrible job to have to listen. I mean, to be a psychologist, you have to listen to all these horrible stories. I wouldn't want that job.
Psychiatrists have psychiatrists.
Oh yeah,
It's
and they're
a
supposed to keep everything confidential, right?
right.
They
Right.
cannot divulge.
No.
It's your job to do the public part.
Yes, exactly.
So, how many people actually received your book? Did you send it to a few psychologists or a few mental health people or a few teachers? Who did you send it to first?
Um,
Not marketing agency.
oh, no, no, no. It was actually submitted to one of my former psychiatrists, or two actually, in a well-known healthcare facility here in the Bay
And they
Area.
looked at it?
They're looking at it right now for review to see if maybe they could incorporate it into their some of their some of their readings for their either clients or some of their professional members, some of their psychiatrists or clinical social workers. So hopefully maybe it would actually be accepted in that industry.
Oh yeah. When I saw you on LinkedIn, I had no idea this was what it was about. I thought it was maybe a success book, because I saw a bridge. I say maybe it's the bridge to success.
Well, it's the bridge to survival.
Yes.
Yeah,
it is.
from becoming a victim to becoming a survivor. From victim to survivor, and being able to share your story, and help someone else.
Okay, so after you wrote the book, you saw some progress in yourself. You got past the problem.
That's
I mean, it was therapeutic to write it. So now second stage kind of thing.
well, you never get over it. There's never any real solution.
100%. Okay.
It's a lifetime battle. You'll always
remember.
Yeah, there are certain smells, certain scents, certain, there's a view. I saw a color that could take you back to a certain situation. So it's a lifetime battle. Yeah.
No, I can imagine. I feel sorry you had to be the one to go through that. I mean, but you wish you were not, right?
Well, I mean, I believe being equipped with being able to self-reflect, and then communicate it and share it. I think I have unique abilities to actually turn this tragedy into something that could help someone else. So I guess maybe that's why it happened to me and my sisters, and not someone who actually couldn't. Well, it happens to a lot of people who don't get through. It's interesting because out of the four of us, two of us have been somewhat successful, and the other two couldn't manage it. They fell off, and that's in the book as well. So yeah.
Do you want to maybe? So you say what is the second book going to be about?
Dee Dee's Spirits of Transformation is actually empowering Dee Dee to go out and help people, to help children.
Okay.
So she's a fictional character. She's using all of her, she's become a fictional character in Dee Dee's Spirits of Transformation.
Okay.
So she's using her post-traumatic stress disorder. She's using all of her mental and emotional disorders as strengths. These are her superpowers now. So her anger is used in ways that will, help get her through certain situations. And, like where Dee Dee is actually on a boat, a cargo ship here in San Francisco, and she's discovered a crate. And this crate actually is a cargo crate holding children. But she's using her anger, she's using her emotional instabilities to go in there and get the children and bring them out. So instead of these things being weaknesses, she's using them as strengths. And I think people who suffer long-term abuse could actually learn to turn the disorders around and use them in a positive light versus letting it destroy them. Their lives,
Oh yeah, because I'm sure that a lot of, like you said, people who are in jail and commit some sexual rape. Maybe they were victims themselves.
Exactly. Exactly.
So everybody is innocent, really. Nobody's really. Sometimes you are a victim more than someone who needs to be in jail. You're a victim.
Right. And some rehabilitation, or not even rehabilitation, but some counseling, some help in the beginning maybe would have prevented that person from becoming a predator themselves.
Right.
There was no interruption,
Right.
So yeah.
So maybe those who were lucky, like you wrote a book, you got help, you emerged from it, but those who didn't get help actually became
predators.
Right.
Or addicted to drugs, self-medicating.
Oh, okay.
There are so many ways that people deal with that pain.
Oh.
Drinking, it's...
there are many consequences.
Many ways that people tend to deal with that pain. Drugs, alcohol, they're being promiscuous.
Okay.
Oh no, that's okay. They're being, just sexually permissive, and there are ways that it, materializes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one thing I didn't do this time is turn off my phone.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I apologize for that. So is your book out on Amazon?
It is.
It is, okay.
Mm-hmm. And Dee Dee's Bridge to Transformation will be ready.
And it's printed on demand?
On demand, right. So you can get it if you have Kindle. You can download it. You can buy it off Amazon in print form.
In print, and you might want to do the audio one day. I don't know.
I should. Yeah, I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, for those who don't like to read, I guess.
Right.
Yeah, they do more and more of audio now. Audible.
Yeah, I think that's unfortunate. I think learning how to read and having strong reading skills is really key.
Oh, yeah, it doesn't have to be your voice. Could be an actress,
Right. Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, well, so you started in your book, and so you're on your way to kind of now be past the trauma, correct?
Right, exactly.
Okay, now it's time to cash
have
in and have fun.
Right.
And progress in your career. What is your career, by the way?
Well, I have two, actually. I'm an HR professional.
A what?
An HR, human resources professional.
Human resources.
Yeah.
Okay, so you do hire people, or you just screen people?
Well, my specialty is more in benefits.
Oh, benefits, okay.
Yeah, that's
okay.
my specialty.
So you work for a company and you take care of benefits?
Correct.
Okay, and your second part is to be an author?
I'm an author and a writer, yes. And I've actually co-owned a business.
Oh.
And the business provided health and safety training to different companies around here in the Bay Area. So have you ever heard of a BERT member?
BERT?
Uh-huh.
Vaguely. So they train people?
Our company would train building emergency response teams to provide, as first responders in an emergency situation. So we provided CPR and first aid training, workplace violence, ergonomics. So whenever you go into one of the local facilities here in San Francisco, you'd know that you were well protected if there was an emergency. AED training.
So who do you train when you go to this company? You train the HR, or do you train actually the employees?
Well, the employees or management would get together and say, we're going to train this group of volunteers. These people volunteer to be a BERT member.
Oh, okay.
So it's like you go in and there's some recruiting. Do you want to be a BERT team member? And you get a certain amount of number, and then you train them.
You train them for emergencies.
That's correct. Mm-hmm. So we did that for about 11 years.
Are you still open for business?
No, not any longer. Yeah. So I'm
Somebody
doing HR.
took over?
Yes, somebody else took over the company, and that's,
It's sold. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's probably a different name.
I haven't been keeping up with it lately. Just been so focused on Dee Dee's Bridge. The beginning and the transformation.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So basically, you have been a business owner, so you know how to take something and make it successful, I guess. You can
I
do
hope so.
you can do the marketing, you can
Right.
do the calling, everything else. Okay, so I wish you the best in this endeavor, so that this book will be successful and the next one even better. So if we have the whole series, we can make a story out of it, right?
Exactly.
So it's like a documentary in progress.
Exactly.
Okay. Did you start taping part of you now so that maybe in 10 years when you do the documentary you have the pieces?
No, I haven't. I mean, that's where professionals like you come into to play in my life. You know?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, no, because people tape piece by piece, and when they have the whole story, then they have a documentary.
Yeah. I would love to do something like that. I really
Okay.
would. Yeah.
Okay, we might. Okay, so thank you for being on the program. It's a good idea that you wanted to write a book about it. I guess awareness is the key,
It is.
and getting people out there to do something about it is the step forward.
Is the solution.
Is the
Right.
solution.
Awareness is the key. Doing something about it is a solution.
Okay, so you do offer some solution in there.
I do.
Oh, you do. Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, that's good. That's good. So you do offer some remedies.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
That's the most important, right?
Exactly.
Because you're not just crying on somebody's shoulder. You're just offering also some steps to take.
Exactly.
Okay, good to know that. So I recommend the book. It's called Dee Dee Bridge, The Beginning. I guess you meant the beginning of your life, and you're putting a bridge to
Establishing
go
a
past
bridge.
it.
That's correct.
All right.
Yes.
All right. There's a picture of a bridge on the cover, right?
Exactly.
Very good. Very good. So I want to congratulate you on your initiative,
Thank you.
and I wish you the best from now on, from now forward.
Thank you.
I'm sure you need all the support you can get. So thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.